Civil liberties are under attack in Britain. This October, Asa Winstanley, journalist for the Electronic Intifada, had his home raided by counter-terrorist police. His journalistic equipment was confiscated under the Terrorist Act. This comes just a few days after Nelson Mandela's grandson, Mandla Mandela, was prevented from entering this country where he was due to take part in a Palestine Solidarity speaking tour. Make no mistake, Starmer's government has launched a fresh attack on our civil liberties and our right to challenge the financial, military and diplomatic cover that they provide for Israel. Last August, independent journalist Richard Medhurst was arrested at Heathrow on arrival. A few days later, Sarah Wilkinson, the human rights activist and reporter, was subject to a dawn raid and was detained under the very same terrorist act. Like Winstanley, their laptops and phones were confiscated. Just last week, David Lammy assured Parliament that there was no genocide going on in Gaza. Meanwhile, his government is cracking down on the freedom of press and arresting those that dare to report on the reality of the situation in the Middle East. Simply put, this government is attempting to shield the public from the reality of Britain and Western foreign policy. In the last 3 months alone, over 40 Palestine solidarity and climate activists have been imprisoned in the United Kingdom. This is the reality of Starmer's authoritarian government, a continuation and escalation of the Tory campaign to link Palestine solidarity with terrorism. The British establishment has labelled Palestine solidarity marches as hate marches. They've arrested activists for speeches. They've tried to ban marches and regularly impose restrictions on our freedom of assembly. These have been the acts of a state determined to crack down on anyone that dares to challenge their foreign policy. But the reality is the intensification of these attacks comes from a position of supreme weakness. A government in crisis whose moral credibility and political legitimacy is floundering under the strength of the very movement they are trying to repress. The Palestine Solidarity movement has exposed the British government's support for a genocide. And the reality is, we are winning the argument. The movement has faced down bans on marches, has defended our right to sing from the river to the sea, and now we must turn our attention to the accelerated assault on our civil liberties. Because the right to protest was not a gift given to us by the ruling class. It was fought for by women, by workers, by those that dared to challenge the British state and its addiction to war. Once again, we must move to defend these hard-won freedoms.